Coal was king back in the early 1900s, and Northeast Pennsylvania anthracite coal powered much of the nation. For African-American artist Charles Edgar Patience, he not only used coal for fuel, but he used it as a medium for his sculpting art. I'm here with John Fielding, and he's the curator of the Anthracite Heritage Museum. And John, tell us about the artist Charles Edgar Patience.
He was an anthracite coal sculptor, probably the most well-known anthracite coal sculptor. He was born in 1906 in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, and he learned the art of carving coal, particularly initially making coal souvenirs from his father. But he later expanded that skill into carving works of art. Within this case, we have just a sampling of some of his souvenirs, earrings, necklaces. We have a candlestick. We have a small ashtray. We also have a photo of him selling some of his souvenirs to former First Lady Pat Nixon, and there's a photo of Richard Nixon. He's behind him. He also sold some of his pieces to the Queen of the Netherlands, Queen Juliana, during the 1960s. So his artwork was traveled worldwide.
Tell us about George Washington.
So the bust of George Washington in our collection, he has exaggerated shoulders. And one of the reasons why Edgar Patience sculpted him with the exaggerated shoulders is because of the weight of responsibility that George Washington, President Washington, bore leading the new country.
John, what do we have in this case?
So in this case, we have several pieces that Edgar Patience carved for his wife, Alice Marie Patience. We have a cufflink, we have a heart-shaped bracelet, and we have a small and large novelty rings that he used sulfur instead of coal.
Now, John, this is a very important piece, right?
Yes, it is. This is a piece known as Amalarice. Edgar Patience sculpted Amalarice to honor the African-American woman. The name Amalarice is actually derived from Edgar Patience's second wife's first and middle names, Alice Marie.
Beautiful, beautiful. And there are some other examples of this type of work here as well.
That's right. We also have, representing African-American heritage that Edgar Patience did, we have two African-American busts, a male and female bust.
Well, this piece is very interesting. It kind of just looks like a big blob of coal, but when you really start to look at it, there's a story behind this, right?
There is, yes. This piece is called Colville, and it was sculpted by Edgar Patience more out of a labor of love. He used this as a recreational piece between his various commissioned pieces that he was supposed to make. So this is his only piece that was never finished. And you can see a large breaker up top. There's a small little patch town that he started to sculpt in the front, and there's another one in the very front. You can see there's a little image of a drag line that he started to sculpt, which would have represented strip mining in the region. And then around back, we actually have some small miners working in mines.
Charles Edgar Patience was also commissioned to do some larger pieces, right?
He was, yes, and one of his largest pieces is an altar at King's College.
So Father Flood, the third president of King's College, who came to us from the University of Notre Dame, believed very much in the power of symbols. Because we were founded for the sons of coal miners, Father Flood thought we ought to have an altar in our chapel made out of a block of anthracite coal. And so then King's commissioned Mr. Patience to sculpt the altar so that it would have the symbol of the Congregation of Holy Cross in its center.
So John, thank you so much for having us here today at the Anthracite Heritage Museum. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit more, like where it's located?
We are located in McDade Park in Scranton, Pennsylvania, right above the Lackawanna Coal Mine Tour. What we have here is a large exhibit. It's about 20,000 square feet. and we tell the story of the anthracite industry and the region's cultural heritage. We'll be opening for the season March 4th, and people can check on social media. We do have a Facebook page, the Anthracite Heritage Museum, and we will post any new updates on that as well.
Terrific. And thanks again for sharing information on the artist C. Edgar Patience. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time on Home and Backyard.